Holy shit, that's
It's a long story.
Oh, man. No way.
It's a long story.
Oh, man, that is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. Where in the world?
Story.
Hey everybody, welcome once again to a new Talking About Cars with Randy Cardoon and Hot Rod Bob Beck, as we get a chance to talk about, again, another story about cars. And it's not about necessarily the people involved, but it is certainly the cars involved and the circumstances involved. I've always wanted to tell this story ever since, and it all goes back to that Chevy commercial back around the Super Bowl 10, 12 years ago, something like that. You may remember it. The 65 Impala Super Sport, the white one that the guy, his kids came together and said, oh, we're finding dad's long lost car. Because how many of us have had parents that have sold cars that later we wish we had back? Or at least, if not our parents, we wish they had them back. As you remember the commercial, they found the car. They brought the car, surprised dad with the car, scared everybody because dad looked like he was about to have a heart attack, and got the car, and everybody lived happily ever after. And Austin Van Dyke is a gentleman out of Michigan, and his family searched for and found dad's old 68 GTO. And you may have seen it on YouTube. I think he's got a video on it. But I just found the whole idea fascinating because, again, a bunch of us have thought about looking for, the folks' old car. I mean, Bob, I don't know. Have you ever entertained, whether it be the family's old car or a car that you knew of that you wish you could find again?
I like to find some of the cars that I have owned. Now, the cars my parents have owned, because we were from the East Coast, they probably disappeared in rust someplace and, are now fertilizing a flower bed someplace. But the cars that got away, I'd like to find it again. I built a van that was in a number of magazines back in the early 1970s. Where is it now? That'd be interesting because it was a custom van, and it was kind of neat. My first wood-bodied car, I had a 1951 Buick Woody. And it was a pretty complete car. It needed a little cosmetic stuff, but where is that car now? I couldn't afford it now at all. I mean, when I bought it, I spent a lot of money. I paid $400 for it. Today, that's about a $50,000-$60,000 car, but it'd be interesting. And I'd be able to identify it because underneath the rear door latch, it had the date. And it was produced in, and I don't know why I remember this, November 11th, 1950.
Oh, wow.
It had a date stamped inside the door on the wood. So for some reason, they had a date stamp on it. So it'd be easy to identify to an extent.
There's certain cars I necessarily wouldn't want. I had a 68 Chevy Malibu for 17 years. 17 years is long enough for anybody to want a single car. I don't know if I'd ever wanted that back. I like the car, but I had changed it and worked on it so many times. It was like, okay, enough already.
Done, yeah.
But and the car behind me, for example, this 69 Pontiac Catalina. My father had a car, and we have a picture of this where I'm in the picture, and I've got to be 13, 12. My kid sister, who has to be like 3, she is let's just say she's getting cheaper food at IHOP nowadays, sending her driver's license. Okay, she's a grandmother. Okay, so it's been a while, but that car was my dad's. He had it for a couple of years. But the story about that was one day he was driving me over to a buddy of mine's, Andy Shipper, and he pulls over on Valley Circle Boulevard, and he gets out of the car, and I'm looking at him like, what's the matter with you? Was there something wrong with the car? And he looks at me and he goes, okay, it's your turn. Okay, I'm 15. Okay, 14, 15. And at that point, your jaw drops and you go humana, 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 because what do you mean my turn? He let me drive the car from that point to my buddy's house in Woodland Hills. And that stuck with me for a long time as the first car I ever drove. It was gold. It had a had a chocolate brown vinyl top. And I thought to myself, if I found anything close to that, I would try and buy it. 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I'm just poking around because I always loosely, you know how it is, you always loosely look at all the cars you used to have. And
Yeah.
I'll be damned if I found this. And I started looking, and it was they wanted a little too much for it, but you know something, I hung on to it, and I kept in touch with them, and we couldn't work out a deal initially. And about, I don't know, 3 to 6 months later, we finally did. So by the time we were done, we worked out a deal. I got the car, and I got to tell you, to this day, and it's only been a few years, I drive it, and I get all teary-eyed because I go, you know, I think of my dad who passed away, you know, 13 years ago himself. So it's kind of weird how cars like this really emotionally hit you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I to an extent, I would like to buy the last car my dad owned, and I've always had a soft spot for Mopars, and this was his first new car and his last car. It was a 1956 Plymouth Belvedere 4-door hardtop.
You know what?
It was black and white. Yeah, no post. So it was, you know, it was a cool car. Uh, my mother had it until we moved from New Jersey to California. And at that point, she bought a 53 Plymouth Belvedere hardtop, but it was a 2-door at that point. So I've always wanted another 56 Plymouth. I have never found one that I could either afford or was in condition good enough that I would buy it. I did find a 56 wagon, which I wanted. It was sitting in the back of a gas station, and I knew it was just sitting there. It probably needed a lot of work. I never had the gumption to ask them what the price was or if it was for sale, but that's as close as I've gotten. And I've never seen, other than I do have a model of the 56 4-door hardtop,
Oh,
but
wow.
I've never seen another one on the street. So I think it would be interesting to have. But yeah, that car's got a soft spot for me, and I'd like to do that. And the thing I liked about the 53 Plymouth my mother bought, it was the same color. It was two-tone. It was two-tone green, dark roof, light bottom. My father's previous car was a 53 or 54 Dodge Coupe that was solid green like that. So those are two cars I'd be interested in. He also had a Studebaker and a Nash Aeroflight
Ooh, now that
4-door.
should be something to have.
And my memory of that was the first time I went to a drive-in theater. All the seats folded down. It was like a big bed.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember them doing that. I don't remember what the movie was, and I probably didn't stay awake long enough to watch it. But you know, those cars, they have some significance to me. But the 56 would be that would be high on my list if I could find one.
But let's go to Austin and tell me a little bit about how this whole thing came about with your dad's GTO.
Yeah, so I actually only have one memory of the vehicle, as I mentioned in the video as well. But I only had the memory of the vehicle when I was real young. But growing up, going to car shows and stuff like that with my dad, I always heard about it. He'd always talk about it and tell me, you know, keep an eye out for it. And we had picture books, you know, albums full of pictures of it from throughout the process and after it was finished, all that fun stuff. And so, yeah, my whole life, I kind of been keeping an eye out for it, you know, in the back of my mind, you know, okay, if I see something like that, catch my eye, and we were looking for it. But yeah, about 2019 was when I really started digging into it a little more. Started looking for some more documents, you know, in the recesses of the house. You know, they kind of get stuff back in the closet and all that fun stuff. And all I had to go off originally was just a license plate number off a picture. And yeah, obviously that didn't get us too far. But I had cop buddies trying to run it down, and at one point, my mom actually dug out the receipt for the paint job from when he got it painted, and that happened to have the VIN number on it, and that's how we found the VIN number. And yeah, so from there we went to a private investigator right away. Talked to a few of them, and one of them had experience doing it. He said just last year he had found one for some guy, and he had found it in Texas, and I was a local private investigator from around here. So I gave him every bit of information I had, and that was coming into 2020 there a little bit, right in the beginning of 2020, and COVID happened, all that stuff, and just kind of fizzled away. And finally reached out to him. He just says, no, he goes, I need more information. I got to know who you sold this to, because I can't find anything on this car.
How do you find a detective like that? I mean, I don't think there's anything such as a car detective. How did you search for it?
Yeah, I looked up private investigators in the area and didn't have a ton of luck until I found this one, and they said, yeah, we'd be willing to take that on and give it a shot. Yeah, nice guys and everything. It just it didn't. We don't know quite what happened, what changed, but the VIN number, we just Googled it one day after being notified in some Facebook groups I'd posted to. They said, oh, just Google the VIN number. I said, I'd done that before, but we don't know if it was...
Googling, just putting the VIN number into the general Google and page, and it pops up.
Yeah, and it just popped right up, and I could have swore I had done that before, and I would assume a private investigator had tried that, but for some reason, maybe it was a information sharing thing between Denmark and USA. I'm not sure what it was, but suddenly it popped up, and it was a Danish registration for the car, and so I started translating things, but I didn't have to translate too much because I see Pontiac GTO Cabriolet 1968. I'm thinking, boy, there's no way there's another one of them over there, and that VIN number, something that close. And so that's how we found out it was in Denmark.
Wow, it really traveled.
It did, yeah, and that's we're still kind of learning the travels that it did take. We learned from that family that they bought it out of Texas. And so, yeah, we're like, shoot, I don't know how it got to Texas, because we sold it to a guy over here in Michigan. And yeah, so when we finally got the car back, they had sent all the paperwork and everything they had with it, which had the business card and some kind of a formal receipt of purchase from the guy that they had bought it from. So we actually did reach out to that guy too. I know my dad talked to him for a couple hours on the phone, just kind of getting the story, and this guy had it for a few years, sold it to the Denmark owner from a car show and down there in Houston, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so yeah, he had bought it out of New York, I believe, and we're still not sure how it got from Detroit to New York.
Wow.
It made the rounds.
Sounds like it has a better frequent flyer mileage than you had on your airplane flight, I think.
Yeah, absolutely it did.
I guess for people who are at home looking at this and wondering what's the first thing they should do, I'd imagine is go through all your paperwork, and I guess the VIN number has to be one of the most important things you can find.
Yeah.
So you found the car, pick it up from there, Austin. What happened after you found the car? I mean, is this something you were trying to hide from your dad? Were you trying to surprise him? Was he in on it the whole time? How did that work?
Yeah, so it was something I didn't want him to know about. And I didn't want to get his hopes up too much, because he talked about it enough already. I said, well, I don't want him to, get too giddy, or, I said, I want to make sure I know where it's at first, because for all we know, it could be a junkyard at this point. So I worked with my mom, closely with my mom on it. She's the one that was able to find a lot of the information that was key to finding the car in the first place. And then my sister actually was also aware of what was going on. We kind of kept her updated as well, but I have 3 other siblings, and they weren't aware of what was going on. They didn't live in the house at the time, so it wasn't too hard to keep it from them. But we had to try to keep it under wraps a little bit, and there were a few people here and there that knew. But yeah, he, in hindsight, when we did surprise him with it, he said no, he had not a clue in the world. He goes, you guys could have had that thing sitting in a storage container, next door for 20 years. He goes, I never would have known.
Wow.
Well, how long did the process take for you to find the vehicle, and then how did you negotiate to buy it back from whoever owned it at this point?
I figure it's about a 2-year time period from when I started looking to when I got the car. And it took us about a year to find it, and we finally tracked it down in 2020. In it was June or July, we had found out who owned it, and we were in contact with them. And so we had the person who had originally told me, hey, I know where this car is, was a gentleman by the name of Martin. And it was his father-in-law's cousin that owned the car. So it wasn't even a direct relation there. But the owner didn't speak English. He was an older gentleman. And so this Martin guy was kind enough to help translate and get in contact with the family for me, and then kind of intermediate and translate to get the information back and forth, which was just wonderful. Couldn't have done it without all these people that just dropped everything they could just to help. They had no problem doing this on their own time, and taking time out of their own day to help out and someone they never knew, which I thought was really cool.
Do I understand at one point he really, when you first approached him, really wasn't keen on selling it back?
Yeah, so that was the first point of contact with them. I sent basically a lot of the story just over to this Martin guy to relay over to Jorgen, the owner, and just to kind of let him know, hey, this is the story. I would love to purchase the car, or at the very least, get some pictures, see what you guys got going on, see how it's doing, all that fun stuff. But so when he responded, he said, yeah, well, you got the car. He sent over some pictures. But then at the end, he said, he doesn't have any reason to sell it. He said, I understand where you want to buy it, but he goes, I don't have a reason to sell it. I love the car. And yeah, that was a little disheartening, but you understand it's his car. It has been at that point, he had owned the car for 12 years, which was longer than my dad had even owned it. So yeah, you can't fault him for that. So you just at that point, we kind of kept it under wraps still. And when we had learned that was when my mom said, maybe we should tell them that it is out there. Show them these pictures. Say, hey, this car's it's still the same colors he painted it, the original color, all that fun stuff.
Oh wow!
And we tossed the idea around for a while, but I said, I talked to Martin. And he said, maybe he'll be inclined to sell this in a year's time or something like that. And so I said, well, we'll give her a little time. We're in no rush. We get nothing out of telling them that it does exist. So we decided to just kind of sit tight and see how things went. And unfortunately, he did end up passing about 6 months later. And so that's, as tragic as that is, I tried to keep my distance with the family. Martin was in contact with them. But
so Jorgen passed, just to clarify, right?
Correct. Yeah. Sorry. Jorgen,
okay.
The owner of the vehicle did.
All right. All right.
And so, I wanted to, I said, I'll wait for them to reach out if they want. Otherwise, we just kind of continued sitting tight.
And how long did you have to sit tight? On pins and needles, no doubt.
Yeah, I think it was close to 9 or 10 months between learning who owned the car to them reaching out about us purchasing the vehicle. And it was very generous of them to consider that and to keep that in their mind as well, because they really didn't want to sell it. They said we have no problem keeping it, but given your history with the vehicle, and we think it'd be cool for you guys to. We know you guys would take care of the car.
So now you bought it from a family that owned it.
Yep.
What was it like getting it shipped back? Because now you've got a vehicle with a foreign title.
Right. And so they don't even title them in Denmark. They just kind of register them to the state, to the country of Denmark. And you have to unregister it when you sell it and then re-register it for the next owner. If it gets sold within the country and everything. So that was a trick in and of itself. Once we got it back, to get it titled, we had to do a VIN, forget what it was called. But basically, a police officer comes and they look the vehicle over. They run an extensive search on the VIN number to make sure it's not involved in anything illegal or reported stolen, all that kind of stuff, before they're able to then give you your own title going forward on it.
Well, you know, a lot of people ship cars. I mean, the car that's behind me, I shipped it in from Missouri, which is like being in another country, because it had to come into California. But what kind of a time frame did it take to start setting it up and then get it over here? And how did it come over?
Yeah, so the company that he referred me to, it was a very particular company. He said they were very attentive to detail, and so they actually came and picked it up from the door where it was being stored for this whole time. They picked it up on a flatbed trailer and drove it to the dock, where then they had contracted Hapag-Lloyd carriers to have its own container to ride back in. It was about a 2-month ordeal between them picking the car up and the car arriving at our house, at our place.
Well, that's got to be a harrowing experience. I mean, the uncertainty, and you don't have possession. You didn't put it in the container. How did they strap it down? We hear all these horror stories about vehicles and things being shipped. That had to be unnerving, waiting for it to show up.
Oh yeah, no, it was very nerve-wracking. And it really just boiled down to trusting the people that I was dealing with. I did a lot of research, just kind of looking into the companies that were involved and making sure they were credible companies. And yeah, they did such a good job.
I'm curious from the standpoint of shipping and going through the process and getting it to the home where your dad was so you could pull off the surprise. Give me a general idea. What is, because I've heard these stories before, but nobody ever talks about how much it costs to get this, to deal with a detective and everything else. Give me a ballpark figure what you think you spent to try and get it from where you found it overseas and then to your house.
Yeah, so I had weighed a few different options. There's obviously cheaper options. You can get it across the pond for $2,000 to $3,000.
Oh, really?
But that's on a large car carrier, and it's basically just a floating parking garage.
Right.
And yeah, don't really trust that too much, And so we had spent a little bit of extra money, so about 2 times that to get it in its own container, strapped down by people that do this with cars every day.
Sure.
So it costs a little more for the peace of mind of knowing you're not going to get a banged up car coming back.
Yeah. And when you got it here, how was it?
It looked great. There was a little bit of dust on it, but the car looked really great. In fact, I had it shipped to a friend's house who had a lift at their place, and we went through it, did an oil change, freshened up the filters, checked on everything. We have about 8 to 10 guys there, just kind of looking everything over and making sure it was ready to go. In fact, we swapped the steering column back to the original steering column that night, the night that it came in, and we were gonna swap the transmission from an automatic that he had changed it back to the original that he still had. In fact, they shipped the transmission, the original one, back in the trunk of the vehicle.
All right, describe the car. GTO. What options? What colors?
Yeah, so it was a 1968 GTO with a Verdoro green, I believe the color was. And it was a white top, soft top convertible with the white interior, which is a little bit less common of an option. A lot of times it was black with the green. And one of the things that set it apart was it had the 400 with the HO option on it.
Okay.
So it has the factory headers, they call them. It's supposed to add 10 horsepower, but it was just about the specifics, of knowing that that's the one. And that was all something my dad found out when he was tearing it apart. Dropped the gas tank and he found the build sheet on top of the gas tank. And that came back. It went all the way to Denmark and made it back because my dad laminated it as soon as he found it. It came all the way back from Denmark with the car, and we still have it now.
Was your dad the first or second owner? Or
he might have even been the third. He definitely wasn't the first. I think we found out someone in the area had ordered it, a doctor of some sorts, but we weren't able to find anything on him to reach out to him to find any information beyond that. But yeah, my dad he bought it as kind of just a already torn apart, a little bit rusted down project car, just something to work on, and started from there.
That's amazing. You can find it in Denmark, but you can't find it in Kentucky.
Right.
So how long did he hang on to it, and why did he have to sell or decide to sell?
Yeah, so he hung on to it from 1992. I think he finished the rebuild in 1994, based on the pictures that we have, and we hung on to it till 1999. Yeah, he took the car. He loved it. He took the car all over the place. And in '99, he had my baby sister, who was the youngest of the family, kid number 5, and he had to finish the basement to get enough bedrooms to put us all in. And that's about the cost of a muscle car. It was the cost to finish the basement.
Oh, gee.
Yep.
So what was his expression? How did you present it back to him?
So yeah, we thought a lot about it, and how are we gonna surprise him with this? How are we gonna do this? And it happened to be that right around that time was Memorial Day, and my parents had just put a pool in a couple of years ago, so they had all the family over with the grandkids. A nice pool day with the family, and I said, well, that's the perfect opportunity. So the pool's in the back of the house, and there's a deck overlooking the pool. And so we decided that we were going to come from up front and rev it up before you could see it out on the side of the house. So, because me and my mom were talking, and we said, he is going to know the sound of that car. And sure enough, I revved it up, and you can hear him jump out. You see him jump out of his seat in that video.
It's for you.
You didn't find a car, did you? You found the car?
No.
Stop! Come on, where'd you find that? Holy shit,
It's a long story.
Oh, man. No way.
It's a long story.
Oh, man, that is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. Where in the world?
Story.
Where in the world did you come across that? Oh, come on.
That's when he hears it.
Yeah.
And then he just yelps when he sees it. So it's about 2-3 seconds between him hearing it and him actually seeing the car. And so I kept rolling around the side of the house there, and then he saw it finally.
And he didn't know that it spent some time out of the country.
Right at the time, he was confused for a little while, I think. He thought I ran into it somewhere. He thought maybe, I found it at a car show. And I knew that there was going to be, it's a long story to tell, and to wrap your mind around. So I had the video made up, kind of just explaining the story with some of the pictures that we had gotten along the way, pictures of the car in the container, pictures of the car when it was in Denmark with the family that it spent time with there. And so after they had their, first ride in, after he went for a rip in it, we all kind of sat down as a family and just watched the video, just to kind of give everybody an idea, try to answer as many questions as we could, because there were a few.
Wow.
I'm thinking of the questions we've had, and you guys are far more involved with this. I can imagine the questions went on for quite a while, and the amazement. How was it an emotional thing for your dad?
Yeah, absolutely. When you got something it's that far removed, it had been 30 years, and you don't have that direct contact with those memories until all of a sudden you do. And it just brings it all back. And then for my siblings, for my dad, obviously as well, but the whole family, just a lot of memories of the car. We have, at the end of the video, you'll see a picture of the whole family before and after. We have kind of a funny picture there. My sister was still a baby. They were holding her. So they redid the picture, and they were even holding her in there in the new picture, even though she's 20.
Yeah. Now that you've gone through all this, and if someone would come to you and say, Austin, hey, look, that's awesome what you did. I'm thinking of trying to find my car or my dad's car or whatever. We had talked about the VIN number being very important. What was the one piece of advice you could probably tell somebody that really helped you go through the process and eventually find it?
I contribute most of my success in this story and in finding this car to just car people. Get the word out to people that care about it. The more people, the word of mouth, stuff like that, those are the things that really, really get progress, and even if it's just a comment here and there, to somebody at a car show, suddenly, you got another set of eyes looking for it. And the car community is very, very close like that, and very good about that, where people have all the love in the world for just the random person that they're willing to keep an eye out for a vehicle like that. And they keep that in the back of their mind. And the more, obviously the more eyes you have on it, better chances you are of finding something like that.
You have your show on YouTube, you have your video on YouTube, and I'm curious, did people respond? Did they send you notes? Did they express to you their thoughts on all the effort that you had and ended up finding the car?
Yeah, we've had just a ton of positive feedback on the video. Absolutely great people commenting. A lot of people, just love the story. And then there's quite a few as well that are in similar situations. I lost my vehicle years ago, and this gives me hope that it still could be out there. And, people that are looking for it for their parents and stuff like that. And that's why I love that you guys have this show like this, where we can kind of get that information out there and help out, kind of talk among the car community to help anyone else who might be in such a situation.
So when are you going to write the book with the step-by-step procedures?
If there was another family vehicle of yours that you were going to go find again, whether it be your dad's, your mom's, whoever, what would it be?
It would actually have to be my dad's cousin. So my dad's cousin built it was a Chevelle SS clone, red with black racing stripes. I think it was a 72. And they built these two cars side by side in my dad's garage.
Oh, wow.
They helped each other out. And I don't have much of a lead for that one, unfortunately. But if I was to find another vehicle, I think that would be the one. They got pictures of the two of them cruising when they finally got their cars done. And
does he still have his paperwork? Does your uncle still have or cousin still have the paperwork and the VIN?
I don't know if they have the VIN number, unfortunately. So that's obviously the key factor there. There's always, you can look around, but you never know if it's been repainted. There's so many things that could happen that throw you off the trail a little bit.
Wow. Wouldn't that be cool if he could find that car, huh, Bob?
That would be real cool. Absolutely.
All right. When you find it, notice I said when, not if. When you find it, of course, this is the start of your new car detective agency. But when you find it, you let us know. We'll bring you back and we'll talk about it all over again.
All right. It sounds like a plan. I'll let you guys know right away.
Hopefully that one's not in Denmark.
Yeah. Heaven no. Let's hope it's not in Brazil or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Austin Van Dyke joining us here on the Talking About Cars podcast. Again, thanks, Austin, for joining us. That was a great story. And we, of course, if you guys have comments and you like this story, hit like on our YouTube page and let us know what you think.
I got one question for Austin. If someone wants to watch the video, what's the link? Where do they go?
Well, if you Google a muscle car Cinderella story, it should pop right up. That's what we decided to title it, and I think it's a pretty fitting name.
And I think if you put your name in there, because if I'm not mistaken, your name is the name of the account. So if you look that, it might just show up there too.
Yep. So the YouTube channel is just my name, Austin Van Dyke, spelled with an E at the end. And it's the only video I got up there.
No relation to the Mary Poppins guy, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we're probably related somehow. All us Dutchmen are related all the way around the line,
Absolutely.
Hey, he is a car guy. We've seen him at cruises here.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We'll have to do some Dutch bingo, see if we can find out.
There you go.
Next time we see him, we'll ask. All right, Austin, thanks for joining us. Bob, good talking to you again. We'll get back to our next episode. And everybody, thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next time, everyone.